بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين أجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف وجعلنا من أعوانه وأنصاره اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. Alhamdulillah, we have tawfiq to resume our weekly sessions on ethics of servitude. And as you remember, we were talking about the Hadith of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam to Unwan al-Basri. And we reached the part in which he asks Imam alayhi salam for some practical advice. Although what Imam has already told him can be enough, they can really change our outlook. And after change of outlook, all our priorities and all our planning, everything can change. The fact that Imam alayhi salam said that we should be fully busy and engaged with what Allah wants from us and leave the planning, the big plans to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to see that whatever we have, including our money, all belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So these three important instructions were enough to change. But now, perhaps Unwan al-Basri wants to know some practical steps towards achieving those three. So he says, قُلْتُ يَا أَبَا عَبْدِ اللَّهِ أوصني. O Imam Sadiq, although he, as I said before, maybe he didn't, belong to the school of Ahlul Bayt, but he had respect for Imam. He says, Abu Abdullah, which is the title, the kunya, the nickname for Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. Ya Abu Abdullah, Awsani, please advise me. And this is a very good practice if we go to people who have knowledge, who have taqwa, and especially if they know us. If they don't know us, they can give us general advice, which is very good. And if they know us, they can give us a specific advice. This is very important. Asking for advice, asking for mawwada, awsani, idni. Imam alayhi salam said, أوصيك بتسعة أشياء. I give you 9 pieces of advice, 9 practical tips. فإنها وصيتي لمريدي الطريق إلى الله, which becomes لمريد الطريق إلى الله. And this is my advice for any person who is seeking a journey towards God, who is yearning for God. Muridi is plural. It was muridin because of idafa, nun is dropped. لمريدي الطريق إلى الله. Those who are after the path towards Allah, this advice is for them. So it's not only for Unwan, it's for everyone. والله أسأل أن يوفقك لاستعماله. And I ask God, and because of ta'keed or hasr, Allah is brought before, like إياك نعبد. والله أسأل. I ask only Allah, or I ask certainly Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give you tawfiq and success to put this into practice. لاستعماله might be more accurate version, because Imam said وصيتي and إنها وصيتي, so maybe استعمالها. If it is استعماله means maybe كل of these 9, كل هذا التسعة. In any case, this is just a grammatical point because you are talaba, so I thought to mention this. Now, the question is how these 9 can be more, understandable. Imam alayhi salam, in order to make it more understandable and perhaps memorable, divided into 3 categories. And 3 of them are about رياضة النفس, 3 of them about حلم, and 3 of them about knowledge. So Imam said, ثلاثة منها في رياضة النفس. 3 of them are for رياضة النفس, means something that would help you in training and disciplining, and a kind of exercise for disciplining and training of your nafs. The concept of riyadha, you are familiar. Riyadha means to train. Amir al-Mu'minin salam said, "Ha hiya nafsi arudhuha bit-taqwa." This is my nafs that I train it with taqwa. I discipline it with taqwa. And today in Arabic, they use it for a sport. So riyadha means to do certain things or not to do certain things, but whether you do or you don't do, the aim is to gain control over your nafs and make your nafs as you like taming a wild horse to make it a domestic horse. So 3 of them about riyadatun nafs. وثلاثة منها في الحلم. 3 of them are about hilm, forbearance. وثلاثة منها في العلم, and 3 of them about knowledge. In our hadith, and based also on wisdom, because you also can see this by your own experience, knowledge and hilm very much should be together. اطلبوا العلم وتزينوا معه بالحلم. Seek knowledge, but also try to adorn yourself with forbearance. Alim must be halim. Talabe must be halim. Any person who wants to educate people must be halim, because you are not dealing with the people who are perfect or even close to perfect. They need education, they need formation, and you have to be patient. Maybe they don't know what to do, they don't know even how to ask, how to treat you. Maybe there are lots of problems. And also, you yourself are not perfect. Sometimes you become tired, sometimes, I don't know, you become, a little bit hopeless. You have to be careful not to let any of these things affect your job, affect your service. Either I am an angry person or people make me angry by doing bad things. In both cases, I have to be halim. I have to be patient, and I have to let these things go. I have to forgive the wrongdoings of people. Hilm is normally when something is done to you which is bad. Is a kind of patience with respect to wrongdoing of others. And if we are not halim, we have to try. من لم يكن حليما فليتحلم. At least with takalluf. One of the meanings of Bab Tafa'ul is takalluf. At least we have to try and force ourselves to be halim. And inshallah, little by little, you become halim. So, Ilm and hilm are very much connected. May Allah inshallah give us both. So ثلاثة منها في رياضة النفس وثلاثة منها في الحلم وثلاثة منها في العلم فاحفظها. Imam then said, preserve these, memorize or preserve these. When you give advice to some people, you yourself should show your high regard for your for the important message that you are giving, and also make that person aware that this is something important and they should try to keep it. So keep these three things, 3 in 3, which will become 9. وَإِيَّاكَ وَالتَّهَاوُنَ بِهَا. You see, again, it's ha. It's the pronoun for the female, because it's wasiya. And be careful not to underestimate this, not to take this light, take it seriously. قال عنوان ففرغت قلبي له. So he said, I made my heart empty for this. Very beautiful expression. We have to empty ourselves in order to let something new comes with its integrity. If you don't empty yourself, either you don't let it come or you damage its integrity. You break it. You take part of it. We had a session with some of our Christian friends. We have regular sessions in the UK, and one session we talked about emptiness and how to empty ourselves. You can find it if you put how to empty ourselves or emptiness and my name, inshallah it will come on YouTube. This is a very important issue. How to empty yourself when you read the Quran. How to empty yourself when you listen to Dars Akhlaq or someone who is giving you advice. How to empty yourself when someone is talking to you, especially when you have a difficult conversation. Not that we already have made up our mind, and when we listen to someone, we don't let that person really speak to us. We maybe pretend that we are listening, and maybe we even are not ourselves conscious, but we are not really listening. We are just hearing, but we are not listening. So it's very important. So he says, فَرَّغْتُ قَلْبِي. I made my heart empty so that I can take it completely. فَقَالَ أَمَّا اللَّوَاتِي فِي الرِّيَاضَةِ. Those 3 things which are about riyadha, about exercise, a spiritual exercise and training. All of them are actually here about eating. Because a very important aspect of our spirituality is about what to eat, when to eat, and how much to eat. All these 3 are important. What to eat. Not only it should be halal as far as ingredients are concerned, it should be also halal in the sense that it has been earned with pleasant, tayyib, legitimate money or work. And we need to eat not too much, not in excess, not foods which are not healthy. And also we have to eat when we are hungry or we are supposed to be hungry. Sometimes maybe a person is so much busy with his study or her study or work, etc. Maybe you don't feel hungry, but you have to look after your body as well. One of the things that when I entered hawzah helped me a lot was advice that some people gave me, that be careful about your health, because some talaba are so much interested in learning and taking lesson and mubahasa that they don't look after their meals and food. And at that time talaba had to make their own food. Sometime now they are given food. So we have to be careful about our health. And it is amazing how Allah has created our body and soul, that healthy body helps the soul, but eating too much actually stops the soul from her progress. But if you keep your body strong, healthy, you do exercise, you eat good food, but not necessarily delicious food or luxurious food or too tasty food if it's not healthy. Something which is healthy. If it is healthy and delicious, okay, but not just delicious. So the food is very important. Although it's not just food, but Imam alayhi salam didn't want to make it very complicated for him, so gave him something that he can start with and see the difference and then remain interested. It's a matter of wisdom that if someone asks you for advice, either you have to give whole list, which is making that person maybe despaired and he would not know where to start, or you give him something simple, something that he can try it and then see the difference and then keep interested. But when you choose something simple, you have to be very careful about the way you select and how you prioritize. So Imam mentioned these things about riyadha. فَإِيَّاكَ أَن تَأْكُلَ مَا لَا تَشْتَهِي. Don't eat what you don't have appetite for, either because you don't like it or right now you don't have appetite. Of course, this is general advice. Sometimes people don't like good food for some reasons. They have to change their habits. You can change your taste. You can get your taste used to something. You have to train your taste. Many things, if you don't, try, maybe you don't like them. And trying is not just once. I remember when the first time I had mango. So when the first time I had mango was, let me tell you, it was about 29 years ago. I had gone to Sudan and for tabligh. And the first time I had mango, I didn't like it. The first time. The taste was very weird and strange. But I didn't give up because, in general, I love fruits. And when I eat fruits, I feel, more connected to nature and more connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I tried. After 2-3 times trying, then I started enjoying mango. Then I took some mangoes and took with me to home. And, for family, for some relatives and friends, maybe, I don't remember. But I took lots of mangoes with me. So if I had stopped after one attempt, then forever I would have disliked mangoes. This is a simple example. I remember, we had a relative that never, had olives. And then once in our family, home, when I was a child, had olive. Then he liked it and he kept eating. So this can happen. So never deprive yourself from a good, healthy food, especially vegetables, natural food, because you are not used to the taste. Train your taste. But if there is something that you really don't have appetite for because you have eaten already, or it smells very bad and it's not a delicious, it's not a healthy food, it's not delicious, but it's not also healthy, then leave it. But if it is healthy, not delicious, you have to train yourself, and many times later you may find it delicious. The same is, with hot food. So some people, don't love, chili, but if you get used to it, then you would find it very interesting. So, but consider your health. So, إياك أن تأكل ما لا تشتهي. Don't eat what you don't have appetite for. فإنه يورث الحماقة والبلة. If you eat when you don't have appetite, or if you eat something that you don't have appetite, maybe mostly here is about you have already eaten, you don't feel, eating. If you force yourself to eat when you don't have appetite, then it can lead to al-himaaqata wal-bala, to reduction of your understanding and intelligence. It can, cause some kind of I'm sorry to use this word, some kind of, maybe a stupidity if it is continued, some kind of foolishness if it is continued, if you force yourself to eat when you don't have appetite. This is in a situation which is normal. Sometimes there are ill people that they need to eat even if they don't have appetite, a little at least. But generally speaking, when you don't have appetite, means that your body doesn't need. وَلَا تَأْكُلْ إِلَّا عِنْدَ الْجُوعِ. And don't eat unless when there is hunger. When you are hungry, then eat. وَإِذَا أَكَلْتَ فَكُلْ حَلَالًا. And when you eat something which is halal. As I said, ingredients are halal, earning is halal, everything is halal. وَسَمِّ اللَّهِ. Samma, yusammi. Samme is fi'lul am, is command. Mention the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. You should start at least with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. If you don't make dua at the beginning, at least mention Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim and make dua at the end. But not to forget Bismillah at the beginning. This is the minimum. وَاذْكُرْ حَدِيثَ الرَّسُولِ. And remember the saying of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in which he warned about eating too much. The hadith is this: مَا مَلَأَ آدَمِيٌّ وِعَاءً شَرًّا مِنْ بَطْنِهِ. Human beings have not filled any container worse than their stomach. A stomach is the worst thing to fill. A stomach should not be filled. A stomach is made in the way that must be kept half full, not completely full. Half full, half empty. Many of our disease and illnesses come because of eating, especially eating too much or eating bad things. In some hadiths, al-ma'idatu ra'su kulli da'in, something like this. Digestion and eating and, a stomach, all problems start here. I'm not saying 100%, many problems come from here. So Rasulullah said, فَإِنْ كَانَ لَا بُدَّ. If someone has to eat and fill his stomach, فَثُلْثٌ لِطَعَامِهِ. 1/3 for food. وَثُلْثٌ لِلشَّرَابِ. Keep 1/3 also for the drink when it's the right time for drinking. وَثُلْثٌ لِنَفَسِهِ. And 1/3 for air, for breathing. I remember in the early years, someone mentioned this joke, one of my roommates in the house, they said that a person used to eat too much and leaving no room, no space. So people told him, leave some room for water or oxygen, air. He said, I eat as much as there is a space. And water can find its way in between these bites of food. Water can go and penetrate. And air is not important, whether it wants to come or doesn't want to come. I enjoy eating and drinking. Air is not important. So it should not be like this. We should stop eating when still we have appetite. If still you have appetite, it's the good time to stop. And you know that our mind and body are, made in the way that you feel that you have had enough when the message is given through your nervous system to the brain. But it takes some time to process it. So this is why it is good that you eat slowly and maybe in 2-3 courses, so that your mind feels you had enough. Because sometimes your body had enough, but mind still thinks that you are hungry or you didn't have enough. It takes time. This is why, or one reason, we should eat slowly. In any case, not to eat too much and eat halal and pleasant tayyib food is very important. And if you are making food at home, when you are making food, make dua over the food, that inshallah you, your family, everyone who is eating from this food would get energy, would get strength. These are very important. People who work in restaurants, in bakeries, they should try to be with wuzu and to make prayer for people. Be very careful about cleanliness, physical hygiene, and also spiritual hygiene. These are very important. The way food is made is making big impact on those who eat. Of course, there are other things that we have to observe other than eating. For example, about our sleeping, speaking, which is very important. And, once I was giving that was the very first time I gave some instructions from Muslim perspective to a group of our Christian monks, because they asked me to talk about Islam, and I said I will talk about Islam in general and then Islamic spirituality, and then I mentioned few instructions given by Muslim mystics. This is year 2000, 2001, and that was the first time I spoke to monks. And in that time, 2000, 2001, Allah put in my mind to mention these 5 things, which later I repeated, and then it was published in Self-Development. And that was not to eat too much, not to drink too much, not to sleep too much, not to speak too much, and try to be mindful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I said this is the core summary of instructions. If you manage to do these things, this can have a great impact on your ibadah, on your study, on anything, on control of anger. So, This is about riyadة, this much we mention here. وَأَمَّا اللَّوَاتِ فِي الْحِلْم. But those three which are about forbearance. I want to finish, inshallah, today this hadith so that we can move on to the, inshallah, other passages. About hilm, فَمَنْ قَالَ لَكَ إِنْ قُلْتَ وَاحِدَةً سَمِعْتَ عَشْرًا فَقُلْ إِنْ قُلْتَ عَشْرًا لَمْ تَسْمَعْ وَاحِدَةً. Very important. This is really a struggle. And it's much more powerful and of course much more demanding than doing hours of ibadah. When you do ibadah, it's easy. But if someone is making you angry and you remain in control and you don't react as an angry person, you react as a cool person, as a calm person, that's amazing. Imam says, if someone tells you that if you say one thing, I will answer 10 things. I will give you right away back 10 things. You say one bad word to me, I tell you 10 words. Okay, what should you say? People who are angry, and they some say, if you say one thing, I then tell you 100 things. But Imam says, no. Tell him, if you tell me 10 things, you would not hear even one thing from me. I would not let you decide about my words and speech. It's very important. Maybe inshallah one time I will explain that. But if you are interested, you can follow the lectures about guidelines for Muslims in the West, that how we have to be careful not to let anything and anyone, especially our enemies, to affect our behavior. We should not let falsehood and the people of falsehood affect our behavior and make us like them. If they tell lies, we should not tell lies, because then this means that we are accepting their victory. If they are unjust, we should not be unjust. If they are rude, we should not be rude. We learn our manners from Quran and Sunnah. We learn our manners from Ahlul Bayt. We don't learn manners from enemies and then we do just something in return. We have to be very, very careful. Many times we suffer the same problems that our enemies have because we wanted to react. So we have to be very careful. So if someone says, if you tell me one thing, I will give you right away 10 bad things in return. Say, if you tell me 10 bad things, I would not even give you one bad thing. قُلْ إِنْ قُلْتَ عَشْرًا لَمْ تَسْمَعْ وَاحِدَةً. If you say 10 things, you would not hear even one thing. And then, وَمَنْ شَتَمَكَ, whoever does shatm. Shatm means to say bad words, to insult you, to swear at you. If someone uses such offensive language, فَقُلْ. For example, someone says you are a liar. Someone says you are, you are cheating. You are not honest. You are a bad person. You are an unwise person. I don't know. They can say different things. فَقُلْ إِن كُنْتَ صَادِقًا فِي مَا تَقُولُ فَاللَّهُ أسأل أن يغفرها. If you are right and I have such problem, I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive me. Maybe I have this problem. I ask Allah to forgive me. وَإِن كُنْتَ كَاذِبًا فِي مَا تَقُولُ. But if you are not truthful, if you are lying, if you are not correct, فَاللَّهَ أَسْأَلْ أَنْ يَغْفِرَهَا لَكَ. I ask Allah to forgive you. I ask Allah to forgive. I don't ask Allah to destroy you, to curse you. No, I ask Allah to forgive you. Please remember, and I will also try to remember, if there are people that we suffer from them and we have difficulty with them, believe me, by cursing them, they don't become better for you. By cursing them, they become even worse. If your children, I don't know, your husband, your wife, your neighbors, your in-laws, your colleagues, if they annoy you already and you curse them, you think they become better, their akhlaq can improve, or you just want them to suffer, for example, the best thing is to pray for their guidance. The best thing to pray for change. And inshallah they can become better, especially for believers, for family members, children. Sometimes maybe you get very upset with them, but pray for them, not curse them. Yes, ask Allah not to let them carry on with their wrongdoing. That's good. This is not curse. This is good. But say, no, oh Allah, take away from them their aql, or I don't know, take away from them, their understanding, I don't know, this and that. It's not going to help. Pray for their guidance, pray for maghfirah. If they are forgiven, they become better people. If someone is forgiven, they become better. You shouldn't think that if the burdens of the sins and darkness of the sins are there, they would be better for you. If they are forgiven, it's better. If there is another person who is annoying me and he is forgiven, it means that there is some light now that can help him to become a better person. So if you are right, I ask Allah to forgive me. If you are wrong, I ask Allah to forgive you. وَمَنْ وَعَدَكَ بِالْجَفَا فَعِدْهُ بِالنَّصِيحَةِ وَالدُّعَاءِ. And if someone promises you to do some zulm to you, injustice to you, you say, I promise you to be wishing you good. Nasiha means, to want good for people. And of course, advice is sometimes also used, but the main meaning of nasiha, to wish good. And what dua, and I pray for you. In a very respectful manner, not in a, offensive way. Very nicely say, I pray for you, thank you very much. And finish it with nice manner. Don't let this affect you, and don't let this make a bitter experience between you forever. وَأَمَّا اللَّوَاتِ فِي And those things which are about knowledge. 3 also practical tips about knowledge, something very important to remember about knowledge. Number 1, فَاسْأَلِ الْعُلَمَاء مَا جَهِلْتَ. Ask ulama what you don't know. There are 2 sides here. One is, when you don't know, you should ask. Don't feel embarrassed, don't feel shy. This haya is not good, that you don't know and you feel shy to ask. But it also means ask when you don't know. Sometimes you know and you ask in order to prove that you know, in order to show to other people that I know this, in order to test that person, that scholar, that speaker. فَاسْأَلِ الْعُلَمَاء مَا جَهِلْتَ. Ask ulama what you don't know. وَإِيَّاكَ أَن تَسْأَلَهُمْ تَعَنُّتًا وَتَجْرِبَةً. Don't ask them to annoy them or to test them and try them and experience them. Yes, maybe sometimes we have to ask because we are interviewing someone and we are offering a job or a position that needs, that's different. But sometimes people, especially people who don't have themselves that much knowledge, they learn something or they hear something and then they want to test ulama with that. Or when there is a class, nowadays sometimes this happens, that you teach and people have, their mobiles, their laptops, they search, they find something, and then they ask the teacher. Okay, the teacher, may not know all these things in his mind right now, or even maybe he has not come across this, but he has much more knowledge than the people who ask these questions. So these people have to be careful not to damage in front of others the position of the teacher or scholar, or even the confidence. Maybe if this person is a new person to this field, he would lose his confidence or she would lose his confidence. So we have to be careful. Question should be for the sake of understanding. فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. If you don't know, ask the people who know. But if you know and you want to see whether this person knows or not, or especially in front of other people, you want to show that you know better, that's not good. Or even if you want to test him in front of other people, you have to be very careful. وَإِيَّاكَ أَن تَعْمَلَ بِرَأْيِكَ شَيْئًا. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam said, be very careful not to act upon your opinion. Every person can have opinion, but every opinion is not important. All the patients who go to doctors and physicians, maybe they have opinions, but the opinion of a patient is something that you cannot act upon it, whether it's for yourself or for other people. We have to refer to the experts. We have to refer to the qualified people. So I cannot act upon my opinion, even if I have studied many years in hawzah, even if I have studied dars kharij for many years. I am not mujtahid, so why I should act upon my opinion in fiqh or in any field, unless I am a person who is a person who can have reliable opinion. We say sahib nazar is someone who has reliable opinion. So Imam says, don't act upon your opinion. وَخُذْ بِالْإِحْتِيَاطِ فِي جَمِيعِ مَا تَجِدُ إِلَيْهِ السَّبِيلَ. In everything that is possible, do ihtiyat. Either you know for sure, or you do ihtiyat till you find the answer from reliable sources. As much as possible, don't take risk with respect to your religion. وَهْرُبْ مِنَ الْفُتْيَا هَرَبَكَ مِنَ الْأَسَدِ. In the same way that you run away from a lion coming towards you, run away from giving fatwa to people. And this is why our scholars are very hesitant to undertake the position of marja'iyya, to issue the risala and issue fatwa. They're very hesitant, but sometimes they have no choice, because it's a responsibility upon the shoulder of an alim when people need to share their knowledge. But it's not that, this is something that they enjoy, giving fatwa, because huge responsibility. And we have to be very grateful to our marajah, that out of their love for Allah and out of their love for us, they help us with this. This is a great blessing. But we should not volunteer for that, especially if you are not qualified. But even if you are qualified and there are other people, as much as possible, you should run away from this position. وَحْرُبْ مِنَ الْفُتْيَا هَرَبَكَ مِنَ الْأَسَدِ. In the same way that you run away from lion, you should run away from giving fatwa. وَلَا تَجْعَلْ رَقَبَتَكَ لِلنَّاسِ جِسْرًا. Don't make your neck a bridge for people. You take everything on your neck and shoulder, all the responsibility, and people act upon your opinion. They can go to heaven if, of course, they made investigation. If they realize that you are qualified, and they act upon your opinion, they can go to heaven, but you would be held responsible. Okay, what was the reason for this fatwa? What was the reason for that fatwa? There are thousands of fatwa you have given. You have to answer. So, as a duty, it's great. As a privilege, no, it's not a privilege. Okay, we stop here. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for all His blessings, especially the blessing of guidance and ma'rifah, and the blessing of putting us in this path of seeking knowledge and seeking taqwa under the guidance of our true scholars. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin.